Doomed romantic narratives contribute to both past and present-day eras through their powerful depictions of the contextual values appertaining to these times. Robert Browning was a poet during the Victorian era challenging social reform amid a time of class divide, materialism, and sexual double standards, particularly through his poems My Last Duchess and Porphyria's Lover. Contrary to Browning, contemporary authors Sarah Crossan and Brian Conaghan confront their audience by challenging current issues of today within post-Brexit England, including racism, immigration, and domestic violence, particularly in their text, We Come Apart. Despite all texts being doomed romances, they are each shaped by the context and values of the composer's time, thus resulting in differing perspectives and approaches. In My Last Duchess, Browning characterises a prudish duke with materialistic and misogynistic views that consequently lead to the murder of his duchess. Browning has crafted two characters within this story, the Duke and the Duchess, each representing different sides of the Victorian world that fundamentally shape this narrative. The Duke depicts a conventional Victorian husband whose aristocratic isolation has ultimately led to an extreme sense of entitlement, lacking awareness in regards to human values and spirituality.
And I choose never to stoop.
Contrarily, the Duchess embodies natural beauty and humanity along with generosity and spontaneity.
She liked whatever she looked on.
It is the palpable differences in beliefs and values between the two characters that ultimately led to their doomed relationship. The structure of a dramatic monologue specifically addresses the Duke's recount, mainly entailing his self-obsession, as well as enabling Browning's exploration of the Duke's mentality and ultimately the Philistine Victorian male. His use of ordinary Victorian colloquial speech casts a veil of skepticism over the Duke's moral sanity as he casually speaks of his last Duchess as an object for him to possess and control.
Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt. But who passed without much the same smile? This grew, I gave command. Then all smiles stopped together.
Dramatic irony is also riddled throughout the poem as the Duke appears to think highly of himself when in reality he is a megalomaniac with an overbearing sense of entitlement.
No one puts but the curtain I have drawn for you but I.
It is clear that My Last Duchess is a product of Browning's personal and societal context and that it effectively communicates the toxic masculinity that burdened Victoria England. In Porphyria's Lover, Browning engages with the power-hungry, possessive nature of men during the Victorian era as well as the class division that acted as a barrier within relationships. The poem opens with a storm in which Browning emphasizes with pathetic fallacy by giving the wind human qualities. The sullen wind was soon awake, it tore the elm tops down for spite, and did its worst to vex the lake. This storm may symbolize the effects of Victorian society on the vulnerable speaker due to his lower class. Porphyria is then introduced and portrayed as a figure of alleviation as she shut the cold out and the storm, perhaps suggesting that this is what she does for his weakened soul. The poem later takes a dramatic turn after the speaker debated what to do. He then takes her hair in one long yellow string, wraps it around her neck and strangles her to death. By using Porphyria's hair as a weapon, Browning engages with a common Victorian theme, neglect of all things human and natural, as he has unpersonified an object of beauty and grace. The real shock then comes after her death as the speaker begins to treat her dead body like a doll.
I propped her head up as before, only this time my shoulder bore.
This is the ultimate representation of how men during this era saw women only as objects for them to possess, whilst also demonstrating a complete shift in power where the man now has all the power in the relationship. Browning's context is certainly evident within his exploration of doomed romance during the Victorian era as he effectively engages with many of the ideas and values of the time. Fast forward to the 21st century, Sarah Crossan and Brian Conaghan have composed We Come Apart, a novel of dual narration shaped by contextual values of contemporary Brexit England, including racism, domestic violence, and immigration. Main characters Jess and Naiku, against all odds, find themselves in love, but Jess is deeply affected by serious family issues including the domestic abuse of her mother by her stepfather Terry. Jess expresses how she feels.
I could use the phone to crack his skull open, smash his brains to bits.
Such colloquial language, especially in use by a 15-year-old girl, shocks audiences and compels them to consider the serious effects that such abuse has on younger generations. In contrast, Naiku is deeply affected by issues surrounding racism and immigration. It is especially worse at school, where he is seen as the boy worse than death, the boy people won't waste breath on. Conaghan's use of hyperbole works to exaggerate and convey the immense level of severity at which these insults come. Because the composers managed to successfully engage with the contextual values affecting Jess and Naiku, They are able to effectively explore issues surrounding the contemporary world, particularly through their doomed romance. Overall, Conaghan, Crossan and Conaghan were able to effectively explore the doomed romantic narrative in regards to their contextual values and skillful use of language conventions, thus producing important pieces of historical information that give us insight into the ideas of a certain time period.